the first printed ad ever was for Quality Needles. It was a family business. Needles for what I assumed to be like needlepoint or like sewing and threading and things like that. This also marked one of the earliest uses of logos. And logos at the time were basically just like a picture of a rabbit for this needle company. Before that, actually, in the ancient Grecian times, the logos of the time were something more like there were auditory logos. So in ancient Greece, prostitutes, it always starts with prostitution. I'll tell you, I got to get into the sex business, but it started with tapping, and you would have like an auditory logo in like terms of your tap. So you could tap you have a distinct tap, someone would hear that, and they would always automatically associate that with your business in like a public place. And it was a discreet way to signal that you were offering certain services as a prostitute. So, Cheek, your tap might sound something like, which means like only hand stuff. But
Genius.
But yeah, so that was that's going back a little bit. Then we get back to the early Chinese dynasties that had logos, trademarking, and then you get early books, which were before the printing press, like artists and things like that would write these early books, or not artists, but like people who wrote books, book writers. They would write books, and then it would take a lot of time to write an individual book. I need to either hire someone or write it yourself. That takes a lot of time to write each book. So you need to pay that time off. And how they did that was they'd put coupons and advertising spam between the pages. Like I said, this is before the printing press. So this was their kind of way to substitute. You could pay for like a slot between pages for your advertising. Obviously, there's no targeting for this other than maybe you have an idea of who would read this book. So then we go on to 1704. The first newspaper ads appear in the Boston Newsletter. It's the world. So you get before that, you get the printing press and publications, but the first continually printed newspaper doesn't come till 1704. Because there's newspapers, there's magazines, but they're not continually printed until 1704, when the Boston Newsletter creates the world's first continually issued paper. The first ad agency was called White Bull Holmes, and not Homes, but Holmes. I think those are three last names, I'd assume. And there was actually it lasted a long time. It started in 1786 and went to 1980. And with that came this monopolization of like buying ad space and selling it, and this like contentious market that developed in 1848. That basically there were like spots and advertisements you could reach out, but in 1848 was the time labeled of like, this is when people were competing for spots in the newspaper. That's when people start saying, oh, this is the first time that I could read of where you hear like the old curmudgeons being like, oh, the youth these days, like all this commodityism and like advertising's ruined the world. And obviously we hear that every 10 years with a new technology over and over again. But yeah, so that's leaving the space in the pages. That's kind of an industry new there. And then in 1922, Cheek, do you know what happens?
1922. The Great Depression. The Roaring '20s.
What technology was invented?
The Great Gatsby.
The typewriter.
No. 1922. E, do you have any? Do you have any guesses, E? It's big.
I would say the first supercomputer was invented in 1922.
That's a really good guess. Yeah. 1922, the radio came into existence, and quickly after the birth of radio advertising, said, voila, I'm here, and people started buying time the same way they did a newspaper. Newspapers paved the way. People were like, all right, radio's a new medium. Let's hop on that paddy wagon and get smooching. So the first aired TV commercial then comes in 1941, which is Bulova watches, and their slogan was the world runs on Bulova time or something like that.
I have a Bulova watch.
Do you actually?
Yeah, I could go get it for you.
No, it's okay. Take a picture of it and we'll post it on the social media.
It doesn't work anymore.
Uh-oh.
But sometimes I still wear it to fancy occasions because it's my only fancy watch.
That's nice.
And I just keep the time hands always on midnight because it makes me feel dangerous.
Hey, Cheek. What happens at midnight for you?
Whew, that's the thing, Jay. You can never know.
Turn to a werewolf?
Only if there's a full moon.
You take your pants off?
You have to be there to find out.
I got this image now of Cheek in a Hawaiian and jeans just tearing through those jeans with his legs exploding with hairy werewolf muscles.
I have an image of Cheek taking girls back to his dorm room and being like, I turn into a werewolf at midnight. And they're like, why is that? He's like, because there's a full moon. He pulls down his pants and shows his
Oh, it's ridiculous.
All right. So Bulova, we moved past that. That was in 1941. Then the science of advertising started to take hold. In 1960, the golden age of advertising began. That's like the madman, giant ad agencies, drinking, boo-ba, la-la, all this stuff kind of coming into play. Scientists start coming into it, psychologists, focus groups, studies. That's when you start seeing, like I said, this madman's type era where there is a little bit of science, but it's also like you're just throwing images and art at people, and like there's technology allowing you to reprint stuff, and cars are in full bloom, and highways start going, so you get billboards and all that kind of stuff. So you get all this print advertising, so you get artists and images and all this stuff kind of playing into this bigger picture of advertising. And yes, there was some science into it, but it was still the early ages. And you could get away with anything because like sexism was still thriving, and all this other stuff because basically like women were used as objects during the time, and cigarettes. I don't know. I just imagine cigarettes, cowboys, like objectifying people, and
yeah, didn't they advertise that cigarettes were healthy for you?
Oh yeah, because no one knew.
And Coke as well.
Yeah. It was dumb. I mean, at some point, Coke had actual
Remember
cocaine.
when Coke used to be in Coca-Cola?
Say it again?
That's what I was saying is when there was cocaine in Coca-Cola.
Yeah. I remember that, Cheek, back in the day.
Dude, kids were probably jacked up running around.
Yeah, dude, imagine going... All right, my favorite era was like the 1950s. Like, just imagine this. You could go to a McDonald's. What am I doing here? You could go to a McDonald's. You could buy a pack of cigarettes for 5 cents. You could buy a Coke that had cocaine in it for like 1 cent. And then you could buy a burger for like 5 cents as well.
Insane.
Just imagine that day. And then you smoke it inside while drinking your beer there too. It's just like...
You're living a short life, but it's a fast one.
Drinking and driving wasn't a thing. There weren't seatbelts. People were just...
flying out of windows.
The seat of their pants all the time. Just going.
Ragdolling.
Oh, man. What a life. But yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of bad things about those times, but the golden age hits. You get scientists. That's the onset of like actually thinking about what the customer wants. Still, it's argued that like you would make a brand and then you would show people ads and it was whatever you wanted. Like there's still an argument for that. Like there wasn't much nuance to it quite yet. But then we hit 1994. That's when the first digital banner comes about. So Digital Jazz has already taken hit.
Digital Jazz?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Digital Jazz, man. We were jamming.
So yeah, so that's when you get people searching the internet, and then people start putting up digital banners. And believe it or not, the first digital banners was just someone would just put an ad out there. It was just as relevant as a billboard. Anyone who drove would see a billboard. Anyone who had the internet and search it would see this digital banner. It had no relevancy to it. Millions of people on the internet, anyone could be seeing it. It was pretty wet and wild with your money. But then in 96, targeted ads are made, and basically Google takes hold of that in 2000, and they say, all right, because before that, search engines or aggregations of the internet had all these tickers and all these things, and it wasn't that simple or intuitive. And then Google's like, well, why don't we just make the portal to the internet? And it's just simple. What do you want to search with an I'm feeling lucky button? Which, by the way, I didn't use until today for the first time.
I still don't know what that
I've
does.
never used I'm feeling lucky.
Isn't that crazy? It's been around. Why haven't I used it? It's been
What
around.
What does it
do?
do?
It's a random search. It's a random search. You click it, and then it will like generate something. Like, so today I used it, and I clicked it, and then it like did like a spin thing, like a roulette table, and then it said I'm feeling hungry, and then I clicked it again, and it showed me, and it just took me to great food recipes or something like that. I only used it once, so it was scary. Maybe
That's pretty lame. I feel like it's tailored towards more
Wait,
benign
I don't
things. Like
see
you're
the
not
I'm
going to
feeling
get
lucky
like
button
satanic
anymore.
cult rituals.
I feel yes, it's
You know, something off the beaten path.
yeah, like show me like claymation. I don't know. I had
Instead of
nothing there, yeah.
biodigital jazz
Yeah.
would be I'm feeling lucky.
Yeah, just not even just like random combinations of words was what I would think it came from. But yeah, it's like there's probably like 6 categories you can choose from or something lame like that. But Cheek, you said you couldn't find it. If you go to google.com, did you do that? Not
Chrome's my
your
browser, so
Chrome
whenever.
page.
Yeah.
Yeah, go to google.com, not like the default new tab.
You dangus.
It's actually
Oh,
if
there it
you
is.
have to code it in the IBM software.
It took me to a
What'd you get?
funny cat memes page.
Yeah, it is real lame stream.
Lame stream.
So yeah, you get targeted ads in the thousands. That's where we left off. But if you're using I'm feeling lucky, send us if you get something good, let us know. If you get something crazy like lapis lazuli hairdos, shoot it our way. But 2005 to 2012 we're familiar with, so I kind of summed them all up. In 2005, advertising starts going social with Facebook and the acquisition of YouTube by Google, and then the acquisition of Instagram by Facebook. That starts building, and
That's
if you know anything about what's that?
I was gonna say it's crazy. I definitely remember there being days before YouTube had ads on it. Do you guys remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't far away.
And now you can't watch a YouTube video without watching like a 30-second ad.
Well, I got ad blocker on. I never see ads.
Adblock stops your YouTube ads?
Yeah.
Actually,
Muchness. Absolutely.
No, it
I have
doesn't.
ad blocker. I see YouTube ads.
I don't see an ad on YouTube ever.
Yeah,
do you
same.
pay for ad blocker?
No, completely free.
Huh.
I've got 2 different like types of ad blockers.
Do you pay for Google
Maybe it's
or
the other
YouTube
one.
Premium?
Nope.
I'm not sure I'm buying it.
I even know that they sold Google Premium and YouTube Premium.
I wish we had a soundboard right now, because I would definitely have a button for anyone like trying to show off. Like, we got showboat alert.
Yeah.
Showboat alert.
I don't even know what Google Premium is. This guy's flexing.
But yeah, so back in the day, YouTube, like the original videos, like muffins, if you guys remember that. That's kind of shoes. I feel
Yeah.
like those are my earliest YouTube videos. But yeah, so that's
Trash
social
Can
advertising
Man.
takes place. Trash Can Man. If you guys haven't seen, what was it? Lost and Forgotten.
What was it called? Lost and Forgotten.
Timeless.
Yeah. That's one for the ages. Check it out. But yeah, so, and then all of a sudden in 2020, you get to $500 billion plus of ad spend on online, and now it is the number one area that companies spend on marketing. In 2018, it was like number 2 still to TV ads, but now it's past it. And now you have targeted search ads, which is kind of like what I do. And you have a social, to me, is still a little like the billboard era. You can target demographics a little bit, but with search ads, you have someone like searching it and they're asking for it. With the billboard era type ads, and even Facebook, you can narrow down the demographics, but it's a lot less specific unless you're like retargeting. So, and that's what I want to focus on is the ad creatives, like the videos ads you see on Instagram and Facebook, even the search result copy on those ads on Google, and still billboards and still junk mail and TV ads, obviously, and that's gonna be relevant coming up here with the football bowl.